Our goal is to be a one-stop shop. Anything you need, you can find it better at Balancer. Being a protocol that wants to provide liquidity for their LST, or a DAO that wants to provide liquidity for their DAO token, or a builder that wants to have this different type of pool math for a different product that he wants to launch. So that's where you go to, and you have the best solution for everything.
Marcus Hardt is the CEO of Balancer Labs. Balancer pioneered customizable liquidity pools and smart routing that power much of Ethereum's trading infrastructure today. Marcus shares how Balancer is adapting to the next wave of DeFi, building modular liquidity systems.
Can you talk about 2-3 other use cases for how Balancer is specifically suited as core DeFi infrastructure?
Balancer, as I said, has always tried to be this place for builders to come and create their own product, their own math. But the way we build that on V2 is there's a lot of complexity to do that on a pool level. So we removed a lot of complexity and put that on the vault level. So things are easier to do now. Like building a new pool, you can do it literally in 1 to 2 minutes. So it's crazy fast the way you can operate now.
Hello, Marcus, and welcome to Alpha and Hash.
Hello, Sri. Thank you for having me here. Thanks for the invite. It's a pleasure to be chatting with you.
So, Marcus, as CEO of Balancer Labs, I understand you guys have a very distributed team across the world, but you are based at Florianopolis, which is the Silicon Valley island of Brazil. So, what's happening out there?
Yeah, so I did go to college here in Florianopolis, but I'm not from here. And after graduating, I went abroad to work to different types of industry. I graduated mechanical engineering, so not a dev. But it was always my desire to come back to Florianopolis. It's a place that it's very friendly to tech companies, and it has been very friendly with crypto as well, with crypto companies as well. So we have a few kind of hubs here that are focused on crypto, and even Fernando, our founder, did go to college here as well, and so all of that brings us, and we have more people from Balancer actually living here as well. So that all that brings us to Florianopolis. There's these hubs and these some even just people that are pro crypto, that are working hard to make Balancer like the crypto place in Brazil. Since the island does not allow manufacturing, it just fosters tech, and crypto is a tech as well. So Web3 is getting stronger by the day here. We're trying to bring even like events between ETH Latam and DevConnect. This year is going to be ETH Florianopolis. So we're trying to capture all the people all around the world that works with crypto and wants to live in an island by the beach with a place that is very safe here in Florianopolis.
Okay, all right. So that's awesome to hear. I heard you say you're a mechanical engineer and not a dev. Yeah, I'm a mechanical engineer too, and if you understand thermodynamics and the flow of energy, the balances and everything that goes to govern energy and thermodynamics, you're pretty well placed to run a DeFi protocol as well.
I agree. We used to say that if you're able to finish the course, you're able to work anywhere, because you manage to understand things that are really tough to understand, and learn how to learn. So in the end, if you understand that, you're good to go.
So Marcus, what's Balancer? Let's break it down for everyone. And how is Balancer as an automated market maker different from say Uniswap, and different from Curve? So if you could paint the whole spectrum for everyone.
Perfect. Yeah. So Balancer is an AMM. It's a DEX. But the focus of Balancer, and what Fernando, the founder, has always looked for was for it to be a platform, infrastructure for other teams to build on top of. That is the basic idea that he has always had. So in terms of tech, some basic differences is Uniswap, for example, now is a non-fungible position that you have on the protocol and is focused on concentrated liquidity. And Balancer is fungible. We were focused either on stables or uncorrelated, but providing access to weighted pools. So the idea of weighted pools are that you are fixing the rate or the weight of the pool, either 50-50, 80-20, something that also you cannot do on Uniswap. You can only do it at Balancer. But for quite a while, you'd have the whole curve of spread for the prices. So you would have from infinity to infinity. That is good because you won't get out of range, but at the same time you spread all that liquidity and you have a bigger spread when doing swaps. So it's not as effective for uncorrelated assets. And comparing to Curve, we're very similar actually. So we have even some similar products. Curve is focused on stables. So is Balancer for some types of our products. But we do have some differentiation in some parts of it. So as I mentioned, Balancer is focused on being programmable liquidity and flexible. So you can build your own math on a different pool type, or you can now on V3, and we can talk more about that, but you can add hooks to the pools. So there's a lot that you can do with Balancer if you wish to have different types of products or different types of math on your pool. So basically, Curve is focused on stables. Uniswap is focused on concentrated liquidity and correlated assets mostly. And Balancer can be seen as a mix of both. I'd like to say Balancer is, and our goal is to be a one-stop shop. Anything you need, you can find it better at Balancer. I'm not saying, of course, that the other products are less or anything like that. It's just our goal to have the best solution, not necessarily a specific product, but the best solution for any type of user, being a protocol that wants to provide liquidity for their LST, or a DAO that wants to provide liquidity for their DAO token, or a builder that wants to have this different type of pool math for a different product that he wants to launch, or an aggregator, a trader, a solver that wants to find deep liquidity for their products and to provide that to their users as well. So that's where you go to, and you have the best solution, overall solution for everything.
And so on Balancer, for example, can you also touch upon multi-token pools versus just token pair pools and sort of the distinction between the three DEXs as such?
Yeah. So a Balancer, as Fernando envisioned it, he always wanted to have this possibility of having more than just two tokens and different weights for those tokens on the pools. And that works either with stable pools, that's one type of Balancer pools, and also for weighted pools. So instead of only being able to have these two tokens and just trading one for another, if you want to, you can pair your tokens already with two different. Let's say you have an LST and you want to pair it already with USDT and USDC. You can do that with just one pool on Balancer. So that does make a big difference when you want to have, as I said, different strategies. Depends on the strategy. You can have these different solutions.
Okay, so we'll go deeper into that, the strategy and specific use cases on Balancer. Maybe you could sort of go into that. But before that, You mentioned Fernando, who's obviously the founder of Balancer, but you've been, heading Balancer Labs or been at Balancer Labs for more than 4 years now, and heading Balancer Labs. What is the structure? So I want to ask two things. How did you get to know Fernando and be part of this whole vision? What is the structure of balance of the Balancer ecosystem? You obviously got the Balancer DEX, and then you've got Balancer Labs, which is sort of the entity which is sort of building for Balancer. So can you just explain that? That's the entire Balancer ecosystem structure. And prior to that, sort of Fernando and how you guys met, and what is Fernando doing nowadays?
Yeah. So I've met Fernando quite a while ago. We actually met in college here. We used to work in the same place. So he graduated in automation and control engineering, and I did in mechanical engineering. But we used to work in the same place called Neo Empresarial. It's a kind of student-led internship with companies from around Brazil. So we would self manage, but also have these partnerships and do projects for these teams. So it's kind of like a multifunctional where you'd learn your whatever you were studying in like put it in practice, but also you'd learn management, team management, marketing, financial, and so on, because you'd be part of all of those. So that's where we met and we worked together. After that, each one went its own way. Fernando focused on deepening his knowledge. So he did a master's on Erasmus Mundus in Europe for robotics for 2 years, and after that he graduated on an MBA on Sorbonne in Paris. And I went with my career, so I worked with new business for a manufacturing company. I handled a fabric company as well. I worked for Porsche Consulting for a while as well, so did a lot of different projects for those. But we've always been friends. We have always kept in touch, and Fernando for quite a while wanted me to work with him at Balancer. Even before actual Balancer was deployed, was created by Fernando, we got into crypto. So I was in with him and some other friends in DevCon Prague back in the day. Even when I was still my hobby, we were already discussing Balancer and how that was looking. I was doing some volunteer work. I did the MakerDAO page, one pager for Messari back then, when they were only starting. Was part of the Bankless community back then. So I've been with crypto and following crypto and trying to be very close to it for quite a long time, and kept in touch with Fernando for this whole time. And when I was in my previous job, he reached out to me and said, "Look, I think it's time. I think it's time you joined us." And but I said to him, "Look, even though I'm following crypto, I'm still not well versed." That was in 2020, beginning of 2022, I think. Yeah, or end of 2021. We started discussing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Then you sort of moved on.
So he started, and I said, you know what? Like, I don't feel that if I join Balancer right now, on any way, that is not very like something that I do own and I really know it's not going to be good. So I started with some smaller things, doing a part-time where I still was in my previous job. And then that was started to escalate. So I started working with him more on the background, doing some stuff, learning. And then when we went to DevCon Bogota, that's when we had a chat. And we agreed that I was going to go full time in a bit, because I wanted him to work with me again. I wanted to work with him again, and we needed to check, like, are we still the same way of working as we were back then when we met? And it was, we agreed that it was going great. So I gave my how do you call it when you tell your other company that you're gonna leave? I gave them the warning that I was going to leave, and started to phase out to go and move full time with Balancer.
So Marcus, what is and you joined at that point in time also, you joined directly Balancer Labs?
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly in the moment that the decentralization was happening. So Balancer was founded as one entity, and back then, around 2022, it was there was a project for the decentralization and for it to become a DAO. So Balancer Labs became its own SP that does work for the DAO, but has its own funding. So because Balancer Labs is responsible for the smart contracts team, smart contracts, SDK integrations, data, API, back then was all within Balancer Labs. And kind of like I'm not saying that other areas are not important. Of course they are, but kind of like the backbone of what we wanted Balancer to be. So we didn't want to risk anything with like funding or anything like that. So that's why Balancer Labs went its own way in terms of funding. And then the rest of the DAO has the DAO, the foundation, and the SPs that work for the DAO and the foundation. And then when I joined already Balancer Labs.
So the Balancer Labs, what is the role it plays? It plays the role of building the tech for Balancer. So okay, and how does sort of governance work in terms of who's holding the kill switch when there is a sort of an outlier event or things like that?
So it depends on the outlier event. We have a partnership with Hypernative. If something bad happens, they have authority to, for example, pause pools or like run any kind of necessary operation because of that. But also we have the operations team that was for a long time the Maxis, what the SP was called. And these guys run the operations. So they have, they can work with Hypernative and reach out to the multi-sig signers if something happens and we need to kind of like pull the plug. So that is on their side of things to do. Balancer Lab right now is responsible for building anything related to smart contracts is within Balancer Labs. But we are in a moment that a lot of areas are kind of like multi-SPs now. So we have the data team is within Balancer, but the product team, we have one person on Balancer Labs, one person working for Opco, and one with the Maxis. So it's a way that we think that we keep decentralized. We keep the focus of decentralization.
Can you just clarify that? So what is Opco? What is
in terms of the structure, so we have the DAO, we have the foundation, and now we have Balancer business and Balancer operations, basically saying here. And then within those, we have SPs that work for these two main entities.
SPs as in?
And then service providers. Sorry. Okay. Yes, service providers. Yeah. So these SPs, they can be sometimes 2 people SP or a bigger one with 4, 5, 10 Depends on how we put that together, or even the proposal goes live. So as I said, like before, we had this break in all these SPs. So we had the Maxis, we had Bits, we had Opco, we had back in the day different types of service providers for different tasks at Balancer. And as time went by, we saw that it was not being as productive as we thought. We could join forces and even merge some areas, but we didn't have to merge the service providers in a way that it's not more like, okay, so this service provider is doing specifically that, that service provider is doing specifically that, and at time and the time comes to get funding, it's kind of like we have, each service provider has to sell what they did a lot to make sure that they get that funding and nothing bad happens. And that kind of creates silos sometimes because everyone is like working and focusing on how to best perform on their own thing. And what we're trying to do now is to mix a little bit. We keep the decentralization really strong, but teams are working more together in some departments and some areas. So that makes us more of a unified team. We keep decentralized, but we work together in pro of the same goal.
Okay, all right. And what's Balancer's revenue model like, and how does the sort of revenue flow? Let's kind of use this to kind of understand really how a DEX, a typical DEX, operates. What's the ecosystem like? So that'll be some sort of a great insight into that whole space.
So for Balancer, the way we operate is Balancer works with fees based on how the product behaves. So for a long time, the only revenue stream was swap fees. So the swap fees that are collected on each swap that the liquidity that Balancer generates, part of that goes back into the pool, goes to the LPs, and part of that goes to Balancer protocol. And then within that, part of it goes to VBAL holders, part of it can go, for example, back to the pool on a bribing situation, and then part of that goes to Balancer DAO. And then when we started working more with, when we launched V3 with boosted pools, and just to quickly explain the concept of boosted pools is everything that's within that pool. If when you create that pool, you set a lending market for it, 100% of what's in that pool, if there's a lending market for that token, goes to the lending market. So the LP is providing liquidity, but it's also getting the yield back from the lending market. That's within the pool. And then Balancer, the protocol takes 10% of that fee, and then distributes the same way that I mentioned. So the LP keeps 90%, that goes into the pool, and Balancer gets 10% of that.
And the lending market integration is with which markets?
Nowadays we have integrations with Aave, with Euler, Fluid, Silo, and a few others. Our main integration is, of course, with Aave. It's the one that we integrated like in the beginning, and it's a great and huge partner of Balancer. We have from Balancer V3, 70 or even more than 70% of all the liquidity is on Aave market at this time. So any token that is ERC4626 and has no like time to withdraw or any fees, we're able to integrate either for staking or for lending markets.
Okay, all right. And typically for these are the what do you call the LBPs, liquidity bootstrap pools, right?
No. So liquid bootstrap pools are a auction type
Okay.
pool that is focused
Sorry,
on
I got it
TG,
wrong. We'll go get to that. These are called what? These pools?
boosted pools.
So these boosted pools, the LPs can take the LP asset and collateralize on Aave markets and borrow against that. Is that how it works? As long as it's an ERC-4626 structure, right?
It's not exactly like that. It's almost like that. So they cannot use it to borrow against nowadays because they actually add that liquidity to Balancer with the tokens that are within that pool. And then the thing that happens is, let's say you have a USDC, USDT pool, and both tokens are on Aave. So both tokens will go to that lending market. And depending on what APR each one is having, it's going back to the pool. So let's say USDC has 4.6 and USDT 4.6 as well. So just to make the math easy, and if the pool is 50-50, the pool is going to have 4.6 APR just because of the lending market.
Okay, all right. So it's not just performing as a market making pool. It's also earning fees from the swaps. It's also earning the when the assets are idle, they're also earning directly the whatever is the lending.
Yeah, so it's important to understand, like, not the necessarily idle assets, all of it. 100% of the vault is on the lending market. So we wrap and unwrap when we do the swaps.
Okay, so so how would that happen if all of it is there, and for every swap that happens, there is a back-to-back unwrap that happens?
Yeah, so on mainnet, since there's a little bit more of gas impact, we do have what we call buffers. So each token that is on the lending market has a buffer. Let's say USDC will have $10,000 of USDC and a USDC. So if it's a smaller trade, it goes through this buffer, so you don't have to wrap and unwrap. But if it's in L2 where gas cost is really small, you do wrapping and unwrapping all trades. So you're trading USDC for USDT. You're gonna add USDC that is gonna get wrapped, traded for USDT, wrapped, and then unwrap USDT, and then you get USDT.
Okay, all right. So that's the boosted pool. So out of all the TVL that is there on Balancer today, what's the sort of split between the different kinds of pools you got, and one of them being the bootstrapped pool, which is for TGs. We'll also talk about that. But at a high level, what's the TVL currently, and what is the split between the pools?
We can divide on V2 and V3. Balancer still has most of its TVL on V2. So V2 has nowadays, I would say, 60% of total TVL from Balancer. And then on V3, I would say that 90 something percent is on boosted pools. So if we break into pool types, we have like largest TVLs are going to be on stable pools. And when I say stable is the pool type, but we have stables on V2 and we have stables on V3, and then stables on V3, they can be boosted. So it's a stable pool, but it's boosted. So it's not like boosted is not a pool type, is a feature of the pool. You can have a weighted pool boosted as well. Just try to clarify a little bit here. It's sometimes hard to grasp all the information because that's like one of the things that is hard for Balancer. We have so many different product types that people sometimes get confused. So mainly our TVL nowadays is on stable pools. But also we do have quite a lot on weighted, since we have protocols and DAOs that bring their liquidity to Balancer. Now we're starting with Reclam, and I can go into that later, but for 80/20s. So you want to provide liquidity for your token. You want people to hold most of the liquidity on your own token. So you create this 80-20 pool, weighted pool, where 80% is going to be on your token and 20% on ETH or any other token that you wish. And that makes people have to hold not because most people want to, but to hold 80% of the DAO token instead of like 50-50. So we do have quite a big TVO on that, especially from DAO tokens. That's basically it. And then on V3, as I said, 90% is for boosted, most of it for stables. V3 has been an immense success for stables. It's crazy. And I can dive deep a little bit on that later. But and then also we're spinning off. We did launch Reclams, and it's starting to pick up now as well.
Okay, all right. Okay, now let's talk about the LBPs.
Yes. So LBPs were created a while ago on V2. LBPs are a pool type that is focused on TGE. So what it does is you start a pool with an amount of your own token, and you set the time that you want that TGE to happen for, and what's the final proportion that you want between that token and the one that you're selling it for. Let's say we're doing it for BAL token, and we want to sell it for WETH or for wrapped ETH. We start with 100% or 90%, and then it's an auction, and a reverse auction. So with time, if nobody buys, price starts to go down on a smart contract level. If someone buys it, price goes up, and that's how it behaves. So you're doing like a price discovery auction. So your people are paying what they think it's fair for that token price, and just like, all right, so now it's a good time because I think it's going to go up again, and then that's how you do it. And that pool works for as long as you're doing your TGE, but after that, the goal is that you migrate that liquidity to a normal balancer pool. So that was focused on TGE. We launched that on V2. That technology went to a partner, Fjord. So they used it for quite a while now, and we built a new version now for V3, but we didn't publish yet. It's ready, but we didn't go live yet. We're still looking for a partner to either do the TGE. So this is going to be the first partner using the new LBPs for its own TGE, or a partner that wants to use the platform or the infrastructure of LBPs on their own launchpad. So if someone has, let's say, an UI that is focused on launching tokens and they see value on LBPs, they can use the technology on their own, and then we'll of course work with them in terms of the integration.
Okay, all right, interesting. So in fact, Arna's TG is around the corner, a few months down, so will be interesting for me if you're looking at a DEX-led TG to look at the new V3 LBP.
Amazing. I mean, it's honestly, it's one of the only true price discovery ways to do the TGE that is not like able to just pump or someone just buy everything or do crazy things. So it's like a very fair way of doing it.
Okay. And you mentioned that the launch pads like Fjord are also using the V2 LBP for, and I understand they have like two. One is a fixed price IDO and one is a price discovery IDO. I think that's where the LBP is being used for.
Exactly. The price discovery is the LBPs. Exactly.
All right. And how is the V3 LBP different from the V2?
We're doing, so it's done on the V3 vault and pool technology. So they're different versions. So you wouldn't be able to use the V2 on V3. So you'd have to use V3. And what we're doing as well, we're doing ways that you can migrate after you do the LVP. You can already migrate to a pool instead of like people having to do it on their own. You have ways of migrating that liquidity straight to a pool. So that is a big difference. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nuances that can be done now that we thought a lot before deploying, that will help the projects when they're doing their TGE to specify some things, and that should help them with even post launch features.
Okay, but the basic reverse auction mechanism remains the same.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I think Balancer is more positioned as an infrastructure compared to some of the other DEXs, and I can see the sort of thinking behind, and also the build that's happening with V3 more as an infrastructure. So can you dig in a bit into that? And as you clearly spoke about sort of launch pads being a clear use case for the LBPs as an infrastructure. Similarly, can you talk about 2-3 other use cases for how Balancer is specifically suited as a core DeFi infrastructure?
Yes, for sure. So what we did, so Balancer, as I said, has always tried to be this place for builders to come and create their own product, their own math. But the way we build that on V2 is there's a lot of complexity to do that on a pool level. So we removed a lot of complexity and put that on the vault level. So things are easier to do now. Like building a new pool, you can do it literally in 1 to 2 minutes. So it's a crazy fast the way you can operate now. And then when we did that, we simplified a lot for builders to build, but also for us to build new products. So it's in such an easy way to build new products that Balancer started doing it as well, instead of only depending on third-party builders. And when we did that, so going back a little bit on how V3 was thought and the technology that was deployed on it. As I said, the idea is to make it more flexible, but also easy to build on top of. When we did that, and we accomplished that with V3, but we also added the boosted part. So with that, with the boosted pools, Balancer became the place for stable pairs. Why is that? Because we know that the market is going towards a place where swap fees are going down and tending to zero. So if you say your LP is going to get money back from swap fees for stable pairs, it's not going to happen. So if you want to provide good alternative and LP performance, you need extra revenue. And then there's only 2 ways to do that. Either you're going to do that with a lot of incentives, just throwing like token incentives on top of it, or you find new solutions. And that's what Balancer is about. That's what we aim for. We want products that are incentive independent. So we know that this craziness of like building a new DEX and creating a new token and using that to bootstrap your TVL, and then it's not healthy and it's not sustainable. We see it every day happening, and it takes like 1-2 months. People throw money at it, get the money back, and then the token price goes down and it doesn't work anymore. So what we have now is this product where LPs can provide liquidity to a stable pair where it's very safe to park your money, but instead of just having the swap fee, you add that APR from the lending market there that otherwise you wouldn't have, or you wouldn't be able to provide liquidity to those pairs, only adding those to the lending market. So that is why we've been approached by so many new chains, and even from partners like Aave, asking us, "Hey, let's go to this new chain because this is the great product to have there." So at the moment, we can say that Balancer has a very, very specific and great product for stable pairs. On top of that, we always have the ability to build new products, as we can talk about hooks that were launched on V3 as well. And we have a very specific product that is called Stable Surge. It's basically a dynamic fee hook where if for some reason you have this new token that is supposed to be pegged with the other one, but for some reason, for some moments, it depegs, the pool will not get drained because you add this dynamic fees that goes up towards one of the spectrum of the weight of the pool. So you protect that pool from getting drained, and then you have the moment where that peg goes back and it goes back to the weight. So for stables, we have just like amazing solutions. And as I said, we have the great partnership with Aave, but we do work also with Morpho, Euler, Fluid, and a few others. Talking now on more of a concentrated liquidity aspect. This is something that we added also on V3. We have two products for that. We have one that our partners built, Gyroscope, that is focused on concentrated liquidity, but even with a curve where you can choose where within that range the concentration is even more concentrated. Within the range, there's a place where the concentration is even deeper. But we also created what is called Reclam, so readjusting concentrated liquidity AMM, where we brought concentrated liquidity to a fungible position. So one thing here is that, like when you're talking about incentives and protocols that want to do incentives, it's quite difficult to do that on non-fungible positions. And for Balancer, since it's fungible, it's just easy. Everyone on that pool will get those incentives. No need to do any different choosing ranges or anything like that. But it also allows you to set a range, and then you afterwards, if you think that is maybe too tight or too wide, you can change how wide and tight that range is within that pool. You can change, and then also on the smart contract level, you set the range shift rate that you want to. So how Reclam works is you set that range based on the price that you have, and then you set some margins. The margins are when do you want that range to start to shift, and you can set a bigger margin or a smaller margin. You say, you know what, I just want it to change really when it's almost at that's the side, or no, I want it to change when it's I want to be safer. I want it to change before that, and I choose how fast it changes. So what it does, especially for DAO protocol tokens, is you don't have to keep migrating your position all the time, because the range will shift and you will keep having that deep liquidity within the range all the time. So as I said, Balancer has DAO building. We have the research team, we have the smart contracts team. They're just like amazing smart. And they're always thinking about these new products that will be incentive independent, and will have the best solution for projects, protocols, and LPs within Balancer. Okay. So those are the main products. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, that's sort of it really speaks volumes about the sort of core DeFi infrastructure that Balancer has been building and creating, really being an OG protocol in the space. Can we unpack some of these? What is the role of a sort of concentrated liquidity pool, for example? Where has this come about, and what's your vision going forward for all the different kinds of pools that's there? But if you could first unpack some of the things that you mentioned, so everyone can sort of appreciate in the audience regarding what a concentrated liquidity pool is, and the new Reclaim version of a concentrated pool. So how does all that work?
Perfect. Yeah. So concentrated liquidity, the idea of concentrated liquidity is a different way of where you place the liquidity of that pool on a DEX like Uniswap, for example. You're going to say, well, I want my liquidity to be only between this price and this price, and all of it is going to be here. So you have a deeper liquidity. So when your people are swapping here, since you have this deep liquidity, you won't have a big spread. You won't have a bigger slippage. And that helps a lot when you want that to happen. You want to say, I want deep liquidity. I want it to be cheap for people to swap here. So there's no slippage whatsoever. But what it does happen is if you set a tight range and it goes out of range, your pool stops to work because it's out of range. There's only one token on that range, and you have to migrate to a new one. It's super useful. It's super efficient in terms of, as I mentioned, providing deep liquidity, but you have these other sides of it. As anything on crypto has, there's like an upside for something, then there's an upside for a downside for something else. So for Balancer, what we did is, instead of anyone being able to create their own position within that pool, that's how Uniswap works. You can set your own position, and that's why it's a non-fungible position. The pool has one position that is set, and people that join that pool understand that that is the position they're adding their liquidity to. And it's going to be concentrated as well. So you're saying between these ranges, I'm okay, or this price range, I'm okay of providing my liquidity here. And that's how I want to operate. When you have that on a static pool, you have to migrate that position, rebalance it, and put it into a new position on the way that we're working on. And it's all on the smart contract level. So there's no one adjusting anything in terms of the range. The range is going to shift slowly, or at the velocity that you set, but of course there's limitations for everything on the security level, so you don't do anything that can compromise the pool. But you don't have, it's kind of like a set and forget. You add that liquidity and you'll be good to go. You don't have to keep managing it. So that is the big difference here. Is one, you don't have to manage it. The second one, you can change parameters if you think that's not working well, and that does not compromise the pool, where you don't have to migrate it because of that. You can change the swap fee as well, of course, and say, okay, so I think this swap fee is too low. I want a little bit more or a little bit less. And then that's how it operates.
Okay, all right. No, I mean, slippage is obviously one major issue, especially when you're running automated strategies. Like at Arnav, we've got our AI quant structured vaults, and we've always, the AI models' predictions are fairly accurate in terms of the token movements. But then by the time you're in and out, and with slippage and price impact, you're kind of losing a lot of the delta. So if concentrated pools are there, and these transactions could be undertaken and without any front running and any MEV attacks as such, then multiple, I think many of the strategies which could be far more efficient in DeFi structured vaults, which I think is the real future of how DeFi is evolving, then a lot more can be created, especially on the asset management, on-chain asset management side of crypto.
Exactly. We're working close with partners, especially focused on the MEV part. So ways to prevent it, and we're talking about like 90 to 95 to 99% of prevention that goes back into the pool. So turning the pool even more efficient, especially for Reclam. That's like our main focus on MEVs, on the MEV side. So having that, and we should be able to announce it hopefully this year, It's a game-changing product actually.
All right, fantastic. We'll be looking forward to that. At Arna, we've I think just gone. We've our ATV USDC, which is the yield aggregation ERC4626 vault, and that vault token has we've created a pool market on Balancer, and not only since ATV USDC went live, Pendle, we realized that instead of directly coming to the Arna protocol for users to deploy USDC and get hold of a ATV USDC token, we wanted to create a liquid market for ATV USDC. So it becomes like almost like a yield ETF, and that token's now in USDC ATV USDC pool on Balancer, and we'd be keen to see how we can sort of bring in a lot more liquidity into that.
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, you mentioned ETF, and we've also been working hard. I mean, we have a partner that built on top of Balancer. It's called Quantum, so it's Quant AMM, and they focused and they built what they called a BTF. So the idea is that, in this case, is all with like historical data and learning with AI, and they add that to a pool math. So you have more tokens, and but based on the price movement and market action, it will change the weights of those tokens, and with that get better positioning. So it's, as we were saying, basically an ETF, but also for weighted pools or managed pools. That's something that we've had in the past, and we're working on redeploying with some nuances as well. Idea that you'll be able to have, I'd say, curators or just market managers that can sell their pools, saying, okay, this is my ETF. This is, if you trust me, you can add your liquidity here, and I will manage it for you. And having that integrated with the tech of MAV protection, as I mentioned, those products might be also be game changing, especially with a lot of institutional money coming into crypto now.
All right, so we're looking forward to that, and this conversation has been fascinating, Marcus, diving into core DeFi infrastructure, understanding different kinds of pool structures, and I'm sure that there's a lot we can do together going ahead as well. I'll be looking forward to that. Thanks for being on Alpha Unhashed.
I appreciate the invite, appreciate your time and this conversation, and I'm sure that we'll be doing a lot together.